So this is just kind of a preview of an instance that we've been working on. This is a pilot project from the Big Ten Academic Alliance called Hosted Streaming Media. It's a pilot with us, Indiana University, and Rutgers and Illinois. And the BTAA has done is purchase the rights to a collection from a documentary film distributor called Video Project. And what we're doing is making a site where BTAA members can eventually log in, and their students, faculty can access these resources that are, shared across the consortium. So this is a lightly, styled Avalon instance. We started adding the BTAA styling, and it only has about less than 300 items. But the big things for us with this project were one, working with authentication. So we have it almost set up now where you can, basically go through the auth chooser here and select your institution. And we're waiting to get this through in production, but this has worked really well with the Avalon instance that we've set up here in terms of setting the auth provider to work with their identity management. And an ongoing discussion is, how can we make sure we get the right attributes to authorize the people that are able to see the stuff versus people that are not. But this was an interesting one in a couple of respects. One, we just got a sort of the dump of files here, but each of them did have accessible documents. So each one has at least captions, which we have here displayed as um, transcripts in the caption viewer. So here's an example of one for that has a few different films. And here's another one. So again, these are all sort of documentaries that came to us with basically, a big dump of files and a messy spreadsheet that contained a little bit of metadata, but not a whole lot. So what our cataloging staff is doing is getting records for this in OCLC. So this was kind of loaded by me with all these sort of like basic metadata, including like the summaries and subject. And we're going and creating catalog records. The media provider video project. I'll put a link to them too in the chat here. Um, let's see. Yeah, so this is, basically a pilot that hopefully, when we get it up and running, will, serve people well. And hopefully, the idea is if it works well, we can add more content to this instance and, be able to sort of provide this shared Avalon instance with shared media resources that anyone across the consortium can get access to. So we basically went ahead and did that. And our next step is to basically go in and update all of the existing records by doing a metadata import on all of them against our library catalog to pull in the full set of metadata that the catalogers have been working on. So it's kind of a load first, work on the metadata, and then refresh with all of the extra stuff that we want to provide. Um, yeah, so we've got that there. So the question, now is, do we want to change this? It's sort of a bit of a different Avalon instance in that, we basically only have like a single collection. And we're not expecting people to, use a lot of the features that we have in Avalon, right? Like playlists or timelines might make different sense, in this sort of thing where it's mostly just a resource for consuming this media. Um, but this is what we have so far. So we're getting pretty well along. I think, like I said, we're just about to work out the identity management stuff. And this is also going to take a little bit of effort because we, again, sort of got this big dump of files from the vendor. And actually putting it in cataloging is going to look a little different than how I had originally loaded these in. So it's the cataloging question of like, should multiple videos be in the same record or should they be separated out into individual objects in the instance, which I think we're going to do for at least some of these. So it's kind of like a shifting in terms of like how exactly many titles are there? How do you want to dice it? Um, but once we get that, we'll finish doing the styling updates as well. This is also kind of an interesting challenge for me to go through in terms of working through, our own styling sheets. In this particular case, you can see we do have a little bit uh, of stuff. So this is coming from the Indiana University Rivet styling framework, which is applied on top of the standard Avalon styling. So this is kind of like a uh, third chain removed styling effort to get the BTAA branding, colors and everything on top of that. But it hasn't been too bad. Um, and again, this is just our staging instance, but in the full instance, we'll have the full auth set up, and everything that we've tested so far has worked great. So once we get it all set up and the catalog records are done, should be a pretty reliable instance. The other thing that we've got as part of this is kind of like captions for every video, but it was also an interesting question because some of them had open captions, some of them had VTTs, some of them were like a mix, sort of just coming from whatever the vendor had on hand. There were also audio description files, which were provided as separate audio files. And one of the things that we haven't implemented in Avalon is the ability to add a separate audio track for a video file. So you have like a feature film that has the standard audio track, and then you have the audio description audio track, and we don't have a way to serve, sort of arbitrary audio streams with a piece of media. So that's another thing that we're looking at in terms of being able to support people who do have these just audio files that represent the audio description portion, which is often what you would get from a vendor like 3Play, where you'll go and you can download either the audio file with synthesized speech for the audio description, or the text track. So they give you a bunch of options, and working to make sure that we incorporate all those options is one of the things I want to work on. And in the meantime, audio description files were just created and minted. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's good. So, just like you know, everyone is familiar with that from DVDs. So, basically we want to be able to support that use case. And that's one of the sort of next steps for audio description support in Avalon that I want to be able to move in. So, in this case, it was just sort of we'll figure it out as we can, and the audio description files are added simply just as extra video files that are sort of, labeled as audio description. So users can click on that, but it kind of like sets us up for questions of how we can better support, these sort of supplementary documents that come along with the audio and video material, and basically how we can make it as easy as possible for people to add those into their records, no matter where they're getting them from, vendor or format wise. Uh, But yeah, that's kind of a quick overview. So again, we'll continuing to work on this project, and get it up. But yeah, it's a cool we've been working on.